She still, cause Chuck will be suing us, so I want Chuck to sue us.
Yeah, let's go.
West Ascension Consolidated Drainage, Gravity Drainage District is called to order May 5th, 2016. We'll do the invocation. You don't mind? I'll stand. Bow our head. Dear Lord, I ask you to bless this great nation, this great state, and this great parish, and this community we live in and we represent. Lord, once again, we also wish you to bless all the armed forces servicemen that serve in this great country. Amen.
Who is that?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I guess that was me, Bill.
That works.
Yeah. Put some tape on. All right, roll call. Everyone is here except Mr. Craig Anderson, the West Side manager. Moving on, accepting of the minutes of April 7, 2016.
Move.
Got a motion to accept. I second it. No objection. Minutes accepted. Item number 4, Jews Drive, Mr. Thomas Pierce.
All righty. On Julie Drive, we have all the right-of-ways. We have them signed by the landowners, and we needed a lowboy to move the equipment to that area. And they should be doing that Monday, and we will begin that job Monday. Right after we get the equipment on the site,
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna do that job.
All right.
So that should be done deal here in a few days, next week, weather permitting.
All right, Mr. Pierce. Moving to item number 5, Lemonville Cutoff Bridge, Mr. Pierce.
Okay, Lemonville Cutoff Bridge with the box covers. As you remember last time, we had to order tools to put it all together, the cover. We did that. The tools were in, and we need to work. The tools are in that we need to work on the job with, and now we're going to need a crane to lift that cover to put it in the ditch, and we can possibly start in 2 weeks on that if we can schedule a crane and find a crane to lift it and put it in there. So that job should be scheduled within 2 weeks if the crane, if we get a crane.
Mr. Pierce, I know we had a concern with relocation of the water line. Is that all taken care of? That was an issue.
I think so. Mr. Bill Rue's crews now, or well, at that time it was my crews. The engineering department looked at the right-of-way issues, the utilities, and as far as I know, that's cleared up.
Okay.
Does the river have any effect on that?
Yeah, the river has an effect on it. If it comes up, then we're gonna have to cease operations.
All right. No other question on that. Moving to item number 6, Highway 1 Drainage, Bun Hood Subdivision. Mr. Chuck Long. Mr. Long called me on that issue, and I see Mr. Chuck Long is here. Mr. Chuck? Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, council members. Charles Long, 3153 Highway 1 South. We were asking, my wife's here, Miss Mary Long, for some assistance in our drainage from our front yard, from Highway 1 through the culvert at the intersection of Highway 1 South and the street named Bun Hood, as well as drainage down Hood Street, first, second, and third houses on the right. That drainage is blocked. It doesn't flow to the back of the subdivision like I think it should. It flows to the front culvert at Highway 1 South, which has been a problem for our front drains. Your guy Craig came out there this afternoon I don't know his last name, but I did a walkthrough with him to show him what the problem was insofar as the drainage going down Bun Hood. Some of the pictures I have, you may have taken a look at. The culverts next to the houses on the second and third house down Hood Street, there's about a foot difference where the culvert comes out and then the ground comes up before you get to the next culvert. It just can't raise that high. And as it gets around the curve, I don't know what that street is to the right, but when it gets around that curve, there's absolutely no ditch where the water can go anywhere. So you either have to, something needs to be done. If you take half the water away from me, the problem on Highway 1, insofar as the culvert under Hood Street, will be reduced a little bit. But the main problem I see is that the culvert under Hood Street, which was placed probably in I think it was about 1953 when they first did the subdivision, is a small culvert, and I understand, I've been told by some of you about the state highway and all that other stuff, but I think the highway regulations now say if you put a culvert, it's got to be 18 inches or greater. That particular culvert, I know, is at least 16 inches or smaller, because I went out there to tape measure, and I tried to measure it. In addition to it being undersized, there was an accident about a year and a half ago where a car ran off the road and hit the culvert and bent it inward. So it's somewhat deformed, and it needs to be, personally, I'd like to see it replaced with the standard size, because that culvert drains into your, I call it the gully. I don't know what y'all call it.
Major drainage ditch.
But there was a major drainage ditch that was about 20 feet. It was a 20-foot drop that y'all put box culverts in. It runs around former Lucian Bagalaw's house on Highway 1, and there should absolutely be no restricted flow, because it drops into a big box culvert that's going into by Lafouche. I understand there's an issue with the state. I would ask that whatever needs to be done insofar as contacting the state to try and resize that particular culvert, at least get the process started, because there's just no reason for restriction of flow there other than the undersized culvert. And if it's a process, let's start the process. I think immediately what y'all could help us with is at least trying to get the drainage down Hood Street. That's absolutely, I think, within y'all jurisdiction so far as maybe digging that ditch out for us, or sending somebody to check the elevations to see if it's worth digging. And just to let you know for the record, our home has actually flooded, I would say, over 4 times in the past couple years. Literally water coming in, and that's because it backs up, the front yard gets underwater, the patio in the back's drained, it drains to the front, fills up, can't get out, water actually comes underneath the doors in the back into what I call a hunting room. And that's at least 4 times. The latest time was actually last weekend with the rains we had. And that prompted, it's time to just come here and try and get some help from y'all with the West Ascension Drainage District. That's our problem. We just hope that something can be done to help us.
Yeah.
Mr. Long?
Yes, sir.
The culvert under, is it Hood Street, is that correct? That's
Yep.
the one that you think is, or you say is too small.
Yes, sir.
So when it rains, does the water overtop that and go across the street, or does it just back up?
The water level rises because of the restricted flow. The water level in the culvert, in the open ditch going to the culvert rises. It rises to the level that I have an incoming drain that drains with a pipe. It rises to the level that the pipe gets backed up where the water's not going to go until the level drops. It doesn't overflow the street, no, but it fills up the ditch. As the ditch fills up, it backs up the flow from my drain.
Is that a septic plug?
I'm sorry.
Is that a sewer pipe?
No, it's a drain pipe. I have
Oh,
an
it's a
actual
drain
drain pipe that drains my back patio area to the front.
Okay.
It's a plastic pipe.
So how high does it come, almost to the street, or does it come up to the top of this culvert?
Oh, it covers the culvert up. I mean, it'll come within 4 inches of Hood Street.
Let me just, when you went out
Bun
there.
Street, I'm sorry, Bun.
Okay.
Not Hood, Bun.
So when you're out there, can you see the other side of where the other side of the culvert is, or you can't?
I can't see that, this property on the other side of the street has culverts.
Oh, so it's all, okay.
Yes, covered. But you can look, there's a drain, like a catch basin drain.
Yeah.
On the actual highway. I don't think it catches anything. It's kind of high, you know. I mean, you can look in it. It doesn't have much flow, but you can look in it.
Okay.
And that's why the other pictures of the houses, I have a picture with a plastic green, that blue-looking pipe coming out.
Okay.
Right, that's a drain I have in the back.
Oh, that's the initiation of the drain in your back.
And that's not, that's the one in the back of the second house, which is my sister's house, that helps pull some of the water to that particular spot. But what happens when the water gets in the ditch, it goes back to Highway 1. Instead of going down, you know, the subdivision road, it goes back into the restricted culvert. So you got, when I'm trying to drain the back of that second house, all that water's trying to pile in, it's not getting under the road. So I don't, I think Moose, if it wasn't Moose, it was George, or somebody came out, I don't know, 6, 8 months ago or something with your machine and kind of blew out the culvert under the road.
This 16-inch culvert blew it out?
Yeah, I don't know if it was Moose or maybe it was George.
We blew out the culvert on the state,
Yeah, the
state
state,
highway,
yeah. The
on
one
Highway 1.
crossing it, yeah.
Huh?
Yes.
That crosses Bun Street.
Right.
Now, the street going in initially off of Highway 1 is Bun Street. When you
Right.
take that right, that's Hood Street.
Correct.
So that, and the subdivision is Bun Hood.
Right.
So
Did you
Correct.
blow out this
we
culvert?
blew the culvert out on the Highway 1 culvert, on the state Highway 1.
That's
Now,
the
what he's talking about in the back on Hood Street, I wasn't aware of that till Craig Anderson, our foreman, told me today that he walked with Mr. Long
Yeah.
out there and kind of looked at the area. So I would probably, we need to do some surveying out there and see where that water is actually, if it's coming to the front. Now, in Bun Hood, they probably have a fall from the front to the back about 10 feet, okay? And he's right.
Roll it to the back.
He's right, it probably should, all that should go into the back, you know? And that sometimes, depending on how it was planned out or plotted out, sometimes they split the drainage where it comes one way and then goes another. But in this case, I don't think they've done that. But we'd have to survey it and get some elevations like he alluded to, and see what we come up with to alleviate that problem.
Correct.
Something we need to ask.
Well,
And that's why actually I work on both problems, getting it down Bun to Hood Street, which I know is within your jurisdiction, you don't have to worry about the state, and contact, whatever you need to do to contact the state about the undersized culvert. Both things need to be done. Either one will help alleviate the problem. I think y'all can, from the local point of view, at least look at the stuff going down Bun to the intersection of Hood. Y'all could probably do that on your own. I mean, look at it anyway.
well, Mr. Long, you're correct on that. I think we need to have our guys come in here and really look at going down Hood and
Correct.
see if you have anything holding it up or blow that out, because I don't think anybody cleaned that out. And Moose, we're gonna direct Mr. Pierce to take that. Mr. Anderson already looked at it, so also we'll look at what actually size those covers should be. Once again, we'll have our engineer, Moose, look at that. The issue with the state, I mean, you know, we go through this here every meet when it comes to the state. We have to go through the state to see what they're gonna do, and then we'll follow up with them, and hopefully they give us a quick response. I'm gonna just be honest with you. Hopefully they give
Well,
us
I
a
just
quick.
asked that y'all start the process to see what they can
Yeah.
and cannot do, that's all.
And Moose, I met the guy one time from the state who was the state the west side coordinator with
Aaron
Joe-
Ellison.
right.
Aaron Ellison.
okay, so.
Aaron Ellison.
So if you can get him to look at it or send someone down there to take care of that, and we can get a report or get in touch with Mr. Long to tell him what the outcome, or we'll just wait till we'll keep this on the agenda and wait till we come out with the state on it, Mr. Long.
Appreciate that.
All right, thank you for coming. Appreciate that.
So we're gonna have this on the agenda for next month. Okay.
Y'all meet once a month, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
First Thursday of every month?
First Thursday every month. All right. Moving on to item number 7, St. James Assumption Drainage Update. Mr. Pierce?
Met with the president of St. James Parish, and,
We could record this.
yeah, you could record it and play it over next month. But, they're waiting on the Department of Natural Resources to give the approval to the Corps of Engineers, so that T. Baker Smith, they hired T. Baker Smith to try to go through the process of getting the permit from the Corps. And once they get that permit, then, they can start cleaning Bayou Verret, Bayou Napoleon, and St. James Canal. I talked to a gentleman from St. James, one of the personnel that worked in that area, and he said that T. Baker Smith had done a minor study, and what he meant by a minor study is that they did some soundings and some cross sections, which was, to check the depth of the canal and the width and stuff, and the depth and the cross sections. From what he said, he told me today that they estimated the mitigation for the project to be $1 million. And
Just the mitigation.
right, and he told me that was estimated $1 million. To and this would determine, how much of the wetlands, as you know, will be impacted. So that's where we stand. They're still waiting on that permit, and I think they had this process take some time, and I think our Mr. Rue the other night kind of said the same thing. A lot of the permitting takes time, to get things rolling.
What, they're gonna take that all the way to the Zalman, or is it gonna stop at the St. James Parish line?
I also talked to him about talking to Lafourche Parish, because at that area going into Lake des Allemands, that's in Lafourche area, and we talked briefly. Oliver, I think, was there, to Mr. Jerry Jones and Mr. Jerry LaFont from Lafourche Parish at I think it was at the state convention. And I thought one of the people told me that they thought they had made contact with Jerry LaFont, but then he referred me to another person in the St. James organization, and when I talked to him, he said he hadn't talked to him yet. So we're gonna have to see. We have to initiate those meetings and get that started. But if the food says, yeah, we can dig it, everything else, then you got this permitting from the Corps that you got to still wait on. Possibilities, you probably could maybe get our legislative delegations from maybe Ascension, St. James, Lafourche, maybe push the project a little bit, push it a little bit further.
We have requested that, Moses.
Huh?
We have requested that through our state legislator.
Okay,
Yeah, that's about 6 months ago,
okay. All right, well, that was before I sat in this seat, so, so we hadn't heard anything from them yet.
No. This problem is becoming worse and worse, and it is affecting the city of Downsonville, mainly the city of Downsonville, Lemonville, Aben, and St. Jude's area. Because once that water in St. James, and if you watch the news, the last rainfall, they had a lot of people in St. James with flooding. So it is not affecting just our area up in Ascension Parish. It's affecting St. James, the whole area of St. James. And once again, it is a Corps of Engineer problem that we've been waiting on. We have done, as far as drainage wise, West Ascension drainage, we have made our contribution to them for the study. And we also told them we assist them with funds to, so, you know, when they come up with the permitting, if, you know, what it need, we'll put our fair share up in it. But, far as West Ascension drainage, all our waterways are clear, and we are maintaining them. But once they cross 70 in the St. James and Assumption, I rode it in a boat, and I'm pretty sure, Mr. Dawson, you can share your experience in that. I know you just went recently, so if you don't mind.
Well, I mean, the main thing I think here is that, you know, normally when you clean a drainage area, you start at the lower end and you work your way up. So, you know, even though we clean in Ascension Parish and St. James cleans theirs, if you go to Lake DeZalman and, you know, the water can't get out there and make its way eventually to the Gulf, it doesn't do any good. So I think that's what we're experiencing. So, you know, myself, I would encourage this, whatever kind of cooperative effort that we can do to get this moving. As you know, we had heard at one time that St. James said, you know, we're not going to do anything until the Parish does something because it flood our residents. You know, and I think that's what we're seeing is that, you know, we've cleaned our ditches and the water's just getting there faster, but then it doesn't leave.
Right. That's exactly right.
So, you know, maybe you could work with some of your counterparts in St. James and Lafourche, and I'd like to hear if they've applied for a permit, if, you know, from my understanding that, I'd like to know where that is, especially from Lafourche.
Oh, from Lafourche.
And, you know, have they applied for a permit to dredge, or, you know, I understand maybe St. James has, but anyway.
As soon as we get a meeting with Lafourche, we can maybe get some of those questions answered.
I would get in touch with the Councilman Jerry Jones from there and set up something then, Mo. All right.
And Jerry LaFont too. I think he was on that part of that conversation
Right.
with us at the convention.
Okay. All right. Moving on to item number 8, Mr. Thomas Moose Pierce, General Manager report. You got anything, Mr. Pierce?
Yeah, we let's give you an update. We cleaned out the trees and the brush on the St. Jude Canal, and Dottie should finish their markings this Monday coming, May the 9th. And right after they finish their markings, weather permitting, we will start immediately to start cleaning and digging that ditch out, that canal, as soon as after Dottie marks the area. And they should mark it Monday. From what I'm understanding, the last report, they should finish up Monday. And weather permitting, we'll jump on that and dig that out. And clean up that and finish that project.
Well, since you're talking about St. Jude, have you had any involvement with the sewer, St. Jude, with, think of the name of them, but the sewer company that just bought that treatment plant? You know,
No, I hadn't. Yeah, utility. No, I hadn't talked to them. I thought maybe, didn't that one time you called them? You called them at one time?
I've called DEQ about it.
Okay.
But they're under an order, and my opinion is that they weren't in compliance with it. So,
Right.
I just didn't know if you had any.
Might refer that to my legal if they're under an order for compliance.
Usually if they're a compliance order, they have time to do the compliance order, they don't do it immediately, they give a period of time.
Well, they've been collecting money for 30 years.
I'm just telling you how to do that. Usually they get a 3-year compliance order and have 3 years.
I looked at it pretty carefully, and they had some things they wanted to do and they needed to do in the first 6 months and in the first year, and my opinion was they didn't do any of those in those time periods. And, you know, DEQ really didn't argue with that, but, you know, they've subsequently, they're supposed to be working out there. That's why I was wondering if maybe Mr. Pierce said.
I hadn't talked with any Utilities Inc. I hadn't talked with them. I don't know, O'Neill, you hadn't talked with them.
Good. because one of the things that they, in place of a schedule, what they had was working with the city of Donaldsonville.
Nobody. Mr. Pierce, then I have a question. I know we went to last month transportation meeting, and the question was cutting state road that we had a contract with, and we found out that we added some more roads, grass cutting crew on state road to our list of workers, and I just want to ask you a question. I know Craig not here, but that increasing and it slows down our rotation of cutting all the roadside ditches and major drainage ditches too with our crew, because we only have 4-member crew on that cutting, if I'm not mistaken.
What they do with that on that contract, they do that quarterly, so they'll be cutting that 4 times a year, you know. And that includes some state highways right in this area.
Okay. So I just want to, you know, also let the public know if we're running behind, that's one of the reasons. It's just not moving fast because we just added. And I'm just give you, that's all of 405 and Modas, both sides of it. That's 943 through Bruley McCall, Highway 3089 from the city limits to 70, and the highway in front St. Jude's. What that is,
3120, maybe?
3020, right,
3120.
right. So, and we getting a mileage on it. Know how many extra miles of cutting that would add to our rotation. So, all right. Mr. Anderson is not here, so moving on to item number 9. Unless Mr. Bill Dawson, you have anything?
No.
Number 9, Ms. Peggy? June 2nd, 5:15. All right. Item 10,
Move.
to adjourn. I second. Meeting adjourned.